Hey guys, it's Go Do Your Own Research. I hope everyone's doing really good. I can't believe I'm back here again. But last night, when I was on my live stream about the Michael Jackson case, I didn't realise, but we had a ruling, a judgment on the 47.1 rule that I had streamed that I'd done a live stream of the hearing of 11 days ago. So I wasn't expecting us to get a result so quickly. But in fact, the judge made a ruling and he awarded Blake Lively her legal fees in that case. So of course, I had to make a video about it. I think this will probably be the last video I make about Blake Lively. I have literally been covering it pretty much since the New York Times article came out in 2024 and following it pretty intently. And obviously, Brian Friedman was the attorney for Justin Baldoni, who sued the New York Times for defamation and had that lawsuit dismissed. So this ruling that the judge has just given his decision on was about a new bit of legislation supposed to help protect survivors of alleged harassment or abuse from people like Brian Friedman filing defamatory lawsuits. Which are meant to silence and intimidate survivors from speaking their truth. Even worse, they are costly, painful, and time-consuming for the survivor, who must defend themselves from the legal action. Now, obviously, Blake Lively has got the money and resources to be able to pay for very good lawyers, but not everybody does. That's why it was such an important case. And also it was very interesting because, well, the reason why I started taking an interest in it was because it showed how the crisis PR that Justin Baldoni hired, Melissa Nathan, her company was called Tag PR, uses troll farms and SEO manipulation on forums like Reddit, platforms like TikTok and X to manipulate public perception, which is why I make a lot of videos about it, especially in regards now to the Michael Jackson case, where they've been doing the exact same thing to protect Michael Jackson's legacy. So before I get started on this ruling, sorry I can't show you my face tonight again either. I will be back to normal streaming again in a couple of days, probably the next time I come on, which hopefully I will not be having to do one tomorrow. But before I start, I wanted to set the scene for you, because I'm really hoping that if anyone's clicked on this video because they're interested in the Blake Lively case, that they should take an interest in what's going on with the Michael Jackson estate, because Brian Friedman is over there doing the same smear campaign against several victims of CSA, child abuse, using the same tactics. All right, so let me set the scene for you. Yeah. This is the pool at the Sunset Marquis Hotel. in West Hollywood, Los Angeles. And here is Brian Friedman in his swimwear getting ready to go for a meeting. No, I'm joking. But if you had listened to my live stream yesterday or watched it, I read out a declaration from Brian Friedman where he tried to say that he went for a meeting at the Sunset Marquis Hotel in West Hollywood. I can show you some more pictures of it. This is courtesy of this woman's blog. She's got the best pictures I could find of the pool. Yeah, he went for a meeting here with a private investigator called Herman Weisberg, who he's worked with several times, to meet an unknown person unknown who had information regarding the Michael Jackson estate. Okay, turned out it was Frank Cassio, who used to work for Michael Jackson, who knew Michael Jackson when he was a child, who Michael Jackson considered to be his secret family. And Brian Friedman was at that time, this was in 2019, was asked to go and meet this person, Frank Cassio, didn't know who it was. The meeting was arranged by Herman. He was asked to wear swimwear at the pool because Frank Cassio wanted to make sure he wasn't wearing a wire. This was in his declaration. Yeah, so at the time he was representing Frank Cassio's brother and brother-in-law on behalf of the Michael Jackson estate, but he went to this meeting not knowing who he was going to meet in his swimwear, apparently, according to his declaration, which he swears on oath to be true. That was the other picture of it at the top there. Yeah, so I just wanted to run that by you all before I get started on what he's been saying about Blake Lively. Yeah, just so you can get an idea of who we're talking about here. So yeah, this is yesterday's ruling by Judge Lehman in the case of Wayfarer Studios, LLC and Blake Lively. And it says that in black and white, in clear print, that before the court now is Lively's motion for fees, costs, and damages under California Civil Code Section 47.1 brought in the Wayfarer action. For the following reasons, the motion is granted in part and denied in part, okay? So she was granted fees and denied treble costs, which I'm not going to read the whole document because it's 47 pages. But essentially, what he says is that the costs have been denied because there wasn't an opportunity to ascertain what the costs the damages, not the costs. The cost of the damages actually was. So in the hearing, which I made a live stream of, obviously her side was referencing the expert reports that they had done showing how this retaliatory smear campaign had affected the brands that she was working with on her own brand partnerships, because she has a hair product line that was launched literally the same time as this movie, It Ends With Us, came out, and a drinks line. So the court had previously outlined the background of this dispute at length, as have I. As relevant for the present purposes, on December 20th, 2024, Blake Lively filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department against Baldoni and his co-defendants, the Wayfarer parties, alleging, among other things, so the Wayfarer parties, it says here, are Wayfarer Studios LLC, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, who's a billionaire. He made his money from selling payroll software. It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Melissa Nathan, the Tag Agency PR LLC, and Jennifer Abel. Jennifer Abel was another publicist who worked for Justin Baldoni at the previous publicity firm he was using before he hired Melissa Nathan, which was called Stephanie Jones, for anyone who doesn't know. The reason why we got to see all the receipts, all the information, all the exchanges of the messages between them all, which exposed this smear campaign, was because Jennifer Abel was trying to set up her own company and take Justin Baldoni away as a client in breach of her contract with Stephanie Jones. So her phone was seized when she was fired for doing that, despite what she tried to say afterwards, or how they tried to manipulate that in the press. Okay, so with respect to the defamation claim, sorry, I've jumped ahead a bit. Alleging, among other things, that Baldoni sexually, and that the Wayfarer parties retaliated against her for raising complaints about that harassment by launching a smear campaign to tarnish her reputation. After she filed her CRD complaint, the CRD issued a right to sue notice, and Lively filed suit in this court on December 31st, 2024. These are the facts that the judge is stating in this case, one more time for the people at the back. Approximately 2 weeks later, the Wayfarer parties countersued, asserting claims including defamation against Lively and others for making statements that the Wayfarer parties engaged in, permitted, and or failed to prevent sexually inappropriate conduct towards Lively and others, and that they retaliated against her and others for reporting the alleged sexual misconduct, including by propagating false and misleading narratives about her for the purposes of damaging her image and reputation. On June 9th, the Wayfarer parties amended complaint. So this was because of an article that came out in the New York Times, yeah? It was written in conjunction with a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist called Megan Toohey. And it was called "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine." With respect to the defamation claim against Lively, for which the parties agreed that California law applied, Lively moved to dismiss by invoking at least 3 different California privileges, each of which she asserted independently barred the claim against her. In its opinion and order dismissing the Wayfarer action, the court agreed that one of these privileges, the fair report privilege, precluded the Wayfarer parties from bringing a defamation claim against her for providing a copy of her CRD complaint to the New York Times. In particular, the court explained that even if this alleged conduct preceded the formal filing of the CRD complaint, California's fair report privilege extends to advance communication to the media of a complaint so long as the party intends in good faith to file it in a public official proceeding. The court further held that the Wayfarer parties had insufficiently alleged that text messages Lively may have provided to the Times were defamatory. This is the judge's own words. I'm just reading it out. Or that Lively was responsible for any statements made by her husband, Ryan Reynolds, or publicist Leslie Sloan. Leslie Sloan is her publicist. She's not a crisis PR, she just does regular PR. In dismissing the defamation claim against Lively with prejudice, the court declined to consider the alternative grounds for dismissal offered by Lively, namely that her communications were protected by a recently enacted law, California Civil Code Section 47.1, which establishes a qualified privilege for communications made without malice by an individual regarding an incident of sexual assault, harassment, or discrimination. Section 47.1 not only provides that such communications are privileged and cannot form the basis for a defamation claim, that bit is very important, but that a prevailing defendant in any defamation action brought against defendant for making a communication that is privileged under this section shall be entitled to attorney's fees, costs, treble damages, and punitive damages. The court explained that it had not ruled on whether Lively's statements were privileged under California Civil Code 47.1, and it denied Lively's motion for fees and damages under that statute without prejudice. The court dismissed all other claims in the Wayfarer action with prejudice, except for the Wayfarer parties' claims for tortious interference with contract and breach of implied contract, as to which the court granted leave to amend, which they never did. The Wayfarer parties did not do so. So, on October 31st, 2025, the court entered final judgment in the Wayfarer action. So now the New York Times are trying to reclaim damage costs, legal costs for suing them as well. And Wayfarer Party's insurance company is suing them because they never informed them that there was a complaint of sexual harassment. So that means they do not have insurance to pay these legal costs. Meanwhile, on May 7th, 2026, following an extensive discovery and summary judgment process in the Lively action, the parties filed a notice of settlement and joint stipulation dismissing that action, which was scheduled to go to trial on May 18th. The settlement ends both matters with one notable exception. The stipulation states that Lively does not release and retains all claims, rights, and remedies in connection with her pending motion for attorney's fees. Treble damages and punitive damages under California Civil Code Section 47.1. Okay? The stipulation adds that the parties agree that the 47.1 motion is not withdrawn and remains pending before this court. So that was what he was ruling on. On May 28th, 2026, the court scheduled oral argument on Lively's Section 47.1 motion and permitted the parties to file supplemental letter briefs addressing issues regarding burdens of proof. The parties filed their letters on May 31st. The court heard argument on June 1st. Like I said, that was what I live streamed. Okay, so that's him talking about all the nuance and all the individual technicalities of how the legal process works regarding whether she was entitled to damages and fees. In moving for fees and damages under Section 47.1, Lively contends that it is hard to imagine a more straightforward application of Section 47.1, including its provision for punitive damages. The Wayfarer parties disagree. They raise a host of legal challenges to the application of the statute here. The court agrees that application of Section 47.1 in this case presents a number of important legal questions of first impression. There is scant case law addressing the applicability of the statute either at the state or federal level. So this is such a new law. They didn't have anything, and they didn't have any other cases to base it on. That's a reason to tread cautiously, not to avoid treading at all. Indeed, this court lacks the authority to abstain from addressing issues squarely presented to it simply because those issues are difficult or novel. Lively cannot seek treble and punitive damages under Rule 54D. So there's a lot of footnotes here, which I'm not going to read everything because I just don't want to spend too long on it. But it says that treble and punitive damages cannot fairly be described as attorney fees under any ordinary meaning of that term. Nor can treble and punitive damages under Section 41 be understood as a kind of non-taxable expense related to attorney fees. Courts have held that such non-taxable expenses include costs such as messenger services, photocopying, and legal research. Oops. That was a sign that I'm taking too long on this. Should we just go to the end and see what Judge Lehman said at the end? He certainly didn't make this decision lightly. Wayfarer parties wanted a dismissal. Of 47.1. Awarding attorneys' fees and costs under Section 47.1 does not violate the First Amendment. The litigation privilege does not apply. Lively's request presents no extra territoriality issues. Application of section 47.1 to Lively's request for fees. The Wayfarer party's threshold arguments come up short. Attorneys' fees and costs are at least theoretically available in a case like this one. The court must therefore address whether fees and costs are in fact warranted here. That analysis turns on issues of burdens, namely which party bears them, what they are, and how they may be discharged. The communications here were made on a privileged occasion. The Wayfarer parties have failed. This is Brian Friedman. He's been out here doing so much publicity for this. Have failed to carry their burden of establishing malice. Yeah, so they tried to say that he's still trying to say it. I'm going to show you in a second. The Wayfarer parties have failed to carry their burden of establishing malice. Not just Friedman that goes on platforms like Megyn Kelly and says it, but the content creators that make content about it say it as well. Apparently anyone that isn't on Justin Baldoni's side is paid for by Ryan Reynolds or AI. I've literally had it said to me quite a few times. So let's go to the conclusion. The motion is granted in part and denied in part. The motion for attorneys' fees and costs pursuant to California Civil Code 47.1 is granted. The motion for treble and punitive damages pursuant to California Civil Code 47.1 is denied. The clerk of court is respectfully directed to close docket numbers 742 and 748. Okay, so that's the end of that. So now let's see. I mean, the computer screen hadn't even gone dead before Brian Friedman was out making statements. Yeah. Justin Baldoni's lawyer. Oh, and let me just say quickly, yeah, before I go there. I thought I'd looked up what they said. I did look it up. I closed it. When they settled, they both made a joint statement agreeing that people in the position of Blake Lively should be supported. Now I can't find it. Anyway, it's so annoying because when you search that, you now get results such as the one I'm showing you. But yeah. Attorney accused Lively's team of shaping public perception through selective interpretations of the court's decision, June 13th, 2026. This is. Justin Baldoni's attorney has criticised Blake Lively following a court ruling that awarded the actress limited attorney fees in their ongoing legal dispute stemming from It Ends With Us. The latest comments came after US District Judge Louis J. Lehman ruled that Lively could seek attorney fees and litigation costs related to Baldoni's previously dismissed countersuit. However, the judge rejected her request to pursue additional punitive and treble damages, handing both sides a mixed outcome in the high-profile case. This is from Fox News, by the way. The original article was published on Fox. This is a sort of subsidiary of Fox, so it's obviously a right-leaning perspective. In a statement provided to Fox News Digital, Baldoni's lawyer Brian Friedman argued that the ruling was far more limited than Lively's legal team had portrayed. I just literally read out what the judge ruled. Once again, the court rejected Ms. Lively's attempt to seek additional damages, Friedman said, maintaining that the actress had not secured the sweeping victory her representatives suggested. To be fair, I've not seen any statements from her representatives yet. It's just all about you. There is another article here. On ABC, which says judge orders Justin Baldoni to cover Blake Lively's legal fees. A New York judge has ruled that Justin Baldoni and his production company, Wayfarer Studios, must pay his former It Ends With Us co-star Blake Lively's attorney fees after the parties reached a settlement last month in Lively's lawsuit against the actor and production studio. US District Judge Louis Lehman denied Lively's claim for punitive damages, but wrote that the actress was entitled to attorney's fees under California Civil Code Section 47.1. 47.1 states in part that a prevailing defendant in a defamation case is entitled to their reasonable attorney fees and costs for successfully defending themselves in the litigation. Successfully, not unsuccessfully, successfully defending themselves in the litigation, as well as any additional damages permitted by a judge. So, like I said, we never got a hearing for the additional damages. You could read the exhibits, you could see the evidence of it, but it was meant to be presented in front of a jury. In a statement to ABC News following the ruling, Lively's attorney Ezra Hudson and Michael Gottlieb said the judge's decision makes it clear that Ms. Lively brought her claims in good faith. I literally read his exact words when he said that. That there was no evidence she acted with malice and that she is the prevailing defendant under Section 47.1. Okay, so that's what he's bitching about. Ms. Lively is gratified that her lawsuit shows how Section 47.1 and laws like it create a path for survivors to hold accountable those who weaponize online attacks and retaliatory lawsuits to intimidate and silence survivors, they said. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, also shared a statement with ABC News on Friday, writing in part, Ms. Lively was only awarded limited attorney fees for a single claim as part of a case that lasted only a matter of months, nothing more. Let me just go back to the other article. I'm going to read out his full statement. The attorney This is the Fox News article. Also accused Lively's team of attempting to shape public perception through selective interpretations of the court's decision. According to Friedman, the ruling largely reinforced the judge's previous findings while narrowing the scope of what Lively can recover. That is his interpretation of it. It's not how I read it. The dispute began after Lively filed a complaint alleging sexual harassment and retaliation connected to the production of It Ends With Us, the 2024 adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, which made $450 million. Baldoni denied the allegations and later filed a defamation countersuit against Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and others, the New York Times. That countersuit was dismissed earlier this year, prompting Lively's legal team to seek attorney fees and additional damages under California laws designed to protect individuals who report harassment and subsequently face retaliatory legal action. So it was entirely Brian Friedman's idea to sue them for defamation. Justin Baldoni said he didn't even read the article, by the way. In his deposition, he said he never read the article, but he still sued them for defamation under Brian Friedman's direction. The same Brian Friedman that was representing the Casios on behalf of Michael Jackson. And still works for the Michael Jackson estate. I was thinking as well, like 2 of Michael Jackson estate's long-standing attorneys have passed away. Howard Weitzman, who he was meant to go for the meeting with at the Sunset Marquee, passed away in 2021, and John McClane passed away a few days ago, I think. So Brian Friedman is obviously one of the few left. Him and so there's still Martin Singer and Branca to go. Oh dear. I just think it's sad because, like I've been saying, Brian Friedman convinces his clients that he's going to have their best interests, that he's looking out for their best interests. And even though this lawsuit against Lively was settled, and Justin Baldoni's been ordered to pay her legal fees and costs, he's still going out there trying to spin it in the press as being a win because she didn't get treble damages, which they never ascertained anyway. I mean, they weren't given the opportunity because they came to the settlement, which we don't even know the full details because they haven't been published. Baldoni's representatives, however, pushed back. I can't remember if I read that bit or not. Following the latest ruling, a spokesperson for Lively characterized the decision as a victory, arguing that the court had affirmed her right to recover legal expenses incurred incurred while defending herself against the countersuit. Baldoni's representatives, however, pushed back against that characterization, emphasizing that the judge declined to award the enhanced damages sought by the actress and did not fully grant her motion. Well, funnily enough, that's exactly what some of the content creators who support Baldoni, just like in the Michael Jackson case, they don't read the facts. They get their information directly from him, from the lawyers, has said much the same thing. So this is Brian Friedman's full statement. He said, "We fought and won against a coordinated effort built on allegations of sexual harassment, retaliation, and a smear campaign that never happened." Okay, so the smear campaign that never happened, yeah? This is the first person who was online using this story to, I should show you her channel actually, enhance her YouTube channel, yeah? She was a junket, she was a movie press junket reporter, quote unquote, who had a very small YouTube channel, mid-size. I'll give her mid-size. It's now gone up to 284,000 subscribers. This is how many videos. So she made a video when the It Ends With Us movie first came out, calling Blake Lively a bully. Justin Baldoni, if you don't know, had sent a message to his crisis PR saying, this is what we would need. And it was a X thread from an anonymous account on X saying all the times that Hailey Bieber was a bully. Justin Baldoni literally asked for that from his crisis PR. And then very shortly afterwards, she makes this video where she calls it the worst interview of her career from 2016. She asked Blake Lively how her little bump was, even though she'd been briefed to not speak about her pregnancy or ask personal questions like that. Blake Lively and her co-actress, who was being interviewed as well, Parker Posey, they tried to make a joke out of it and said something like, how's your little bump? A little bit snarky, but she called that bullying. And then this is her YouTube channel, yeah? So we've got literally 11 minutes ago, she called it delusional. The ruling, judge rules. This is out of control. Blake and Ryan caught staging PDA. Everything's like exclamation marks, exclamation marks. She helped ruin Blake. This is someone who said she was involved in bringing that 47.1 bill. She said that she went on her channel and said that Blake Lively had stolen it from her. This video, I nearly did an analysis of the comment section of, to show how deluded people who watch her videos are, because she literally says that this woman, Emily D. Baker, is in league with Ryan Reynolds because Emily D. Baker is a qualified lawyer. Yeah, she says she's in league with Ryan Reynolds because they're both represented by the same agency, WME. I mean, the idea that if you don't support Justin Baldoni, you're paid for by Ryan Reynolds has been, well, every single person, myself included, has been accused of it by anyone who supports Justin Baldoni. It is ridiculous. I've been in contact with a lot of the other people that make content trying to explain the case as it really is, trying to counteract the claims of Brian Friedman and the smearing. And I can tell you that no one has been in contact with Ryan Reynolds or Blake Lively. And there's certainly no coordination. I actually tried to collaborate with them and no one was interested. So it's just crazy. PR crisis backfires, Blake's team in crisis. This is what really happened. So this is her talking to Justin Baldoni's pal, who was actually in the movie whilst they were sort of violating Blake Lively because she was asked to be undressed during a birth scene, which wasn't written into her contract. Of course, Taylor Swift was brought up at every available opportunity, the same way they do with Michael Jackson and all his celebrity friends. Okay, oh look, it's Brian Friedman going on her channel, literally when they had the settlement. Justin's lawyer tells me everything. No smear campaign, no. Truth is coming out. Ghosted by all her co-stars. It just blew up. The truth. This is wild. Everything is outrageous, wild. The truth over. Sick. Judge says no. Judge rules. Sick again. It's war. Insider information. More fights. Losing it. I'd say the person losing it is you, because this is how many videos she has made about this woman. And I've made a few, but mine were mainly reading out all the court documents, the depositions. That might have taken me like maybe 3 videos. When I do my thumbnails as well, I'm kind of taking the mickey out of them with their stupid titles. I'm not being serious. So reporter humiliated by Blake Lively, that's what she's known as, claims delusional actress attended Met Gala to manipulate the internet. Yeah, but this is not a smear campaign, guys. Another person you might not be surprised to know was part of the smear campaign is someone who's also put a lot of effort and fundraised to smear the victims of Michael Jackson, Andy Signal. Andy Signal tweeted yesterday, verdict is in, 1 hour after it happened. So they were all itching to talk about it. This has been their cash cow for the last 1.5 years, and now it's over. Andy Signal, his views are so down at the moment on his recent videos. Verdict is in. Judge Lehman grants attorney fees to Blake Lively, but denies attempt at malicious prosecution for triple damages. It's a big loss for Lively. And while this case is finally ending, it officially will end with us and our documentary. I'll do it in his voice. Officially will end with us in our documentary. You're defaming me when I'm on holiday. Andy Signal. If this is his documentary and he's using a clip from Entertainment Tonight, that ain't a documentary. That's just a YouTube compilation, which you do not need to fundraise for. Anyway, you can do a search for yourself. The people that talk about Blake Lively who actually care about victims of sexual assault, who actually want to see things improve so that it doesn't happen anymore. Because that's what my content ultimately is trying to be about. Don't make videos and titles like what they do. They stick to the information that's given. Well, most of us. I must admit, a couple out there might be a little bit clout hungry. Oh, wait. Right, to the wrong tab. Okay. So those are Friedman's allies. Andy Signal, by the way, as well. I just have to say this again because I know people that are following Michael Jackson won't know this. Andy Signal was subpoenaed by the judge in the Blake Lively case because he inserted himself into the legal process by saying, why haven't I been subpoenaed? So when he was subpoenaed, he refused to hand over his evidence. And then a judge in Florida ruled that they asked for an in-camera review. And a judge in Florida reviewed it and said that he tried to say that he had journalistic privilege and that was why he couldn't hand over his evidence. The judge said, you do not have journalistic privilege. You are not a journalist. You're a host of a YouTube channel. He did an in-camera review and found that he had 6 months worth of correspondence between himself and this crisis PR company, Tag PR, that was working for Brian Friedman. And Brian Friedman's here saying that Blake Lively was the one that had a smear campaign going. Literally nothing like this has happened in respect of talking about Justin Baldoni. Everything I found out about Justin Baldoni was already on the internet. It had been posted on his own podcast and YouTube channels. It wasn't even hidden. And also he had all these previous lawsuits against Black people, disabled people, and now another Black woman who'd already sued his company that he tried to hide as well. Notwithstanding that all of her sexual harassment and defamation claims were thrown out by the court. This is absolute nonsense. Her sexual harassment was not thrown out by the court, okay, because of corporate law the way it is, because the law favors corporations, which I keep saying. She was loaned out as an individual. She was loaned out to the movie LLC by her own LLC, meaning she lost her rights of protection to claim for sexual harassment. That is ultimately what it came down to. Not that there wasn't sexual harassment. It was also the sexual harassment didn't just happen to her. She was the last person to come forward about it. It was already happening when she came onto the set. It was already happening to her co-star, Jenny Slate, who'd already complained about it. The producer, Alex Sachs, who'd been doing pre-production for months beforehand, Baldoni had shouted at her. He'd thrown a chair down or slammed a chair next to her, and she'd said, if this happens again, I'm walking off. The author of the film, Colleen Hoover, the story, I should say, not the film, the bestseller, the reason why he bought the book, because it was a bestseller already. So it came with like a It came with its own audience already, you know. He shut her out of the script rewrites. He lied and said that she was a Baha'i, which is his religion that he tried to shove down everyone's throats. So yeah, he bullied her, and so did the smear campaign. And then Isabella Ferrer, another actress on the movie, it was her first ever big role, first ever main role in a movie. The threats and harassment that she got after this story came out into the public, after he hired this crisis PR, were awful. Literally the same sort of thing you see defenders or supporters of Michael Jackson sending. Like really, really crazy people. So yeah, the claims were not thrown out by the court. Ms. Lively then pivoted to exploit a California law that was established to protect real victims. I don't know what real victims are. She is a real victim. Like, we've literally witnessed it with our own eyes. To say that she pivoted as well is incorrect, because when his lawsuit for defamation was dismissed, they filed this 47.1 claim back last year. So it wasn't a pivot. It was just the next process for them, the next part of the process for them to reclaim their expenses, as they should. That was what the law was designed for. This is how Frieden spins it in his statement. In what proved to be a fruitless mission to obtain damages. Once again, she failed. My clients got blindsided. This bit, my clients got blindsided by a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. No, you blindsided your client. The Times, the New York Times, I don't think they've ever lost a defamation suit, but you thought you were going to be the one. Pulitzer Prize winning. Her Pulitzer Prize, I think, was for her work on the Harvey Weinstein case, which has literally changed the law now. It's just so wrong what he's doing. And another thing I meant to say as well, is I don't think I've mentioned it in the Michael Jackson coverage, but Brian Friedman actually settled his own lawsuit when he was at college studying. He was the frat house head or something, and he was involved in a gang of a underage girl who was drunk, and he had to pay a really large settlement. He made threats at the time that no one should report on it. This was going back to the 1980s, I think. It was 1986, at his college in Berkeley in California. My clients got blindsided by a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and was threatened by one of the most famous movie stars who tried to rip away their life's work and pristine reputations. As I just said, he did not have a pristine reputation at all. He was actually worried that people were going to start seeing that he didn't have a pristine reputation, which is why he started the smear campaign, to take attention away from that. That succeeded. Not only were we successful in exposing the truth of their actions, but by the consistent dissemination of facts and evidence, we made sure that justice prevailed. I mean, it doesn't really look like that from the commentary and content channels responses I saw, just in those limited ones I looked at, Ms. Lively was only awarded limited attorney fees for a single claim as part of a case that lasted only a matter of months, nothing more. Throughout this process, innocent people had their reputations unfairly tarnished by him. There was no sexual harassment. He threatened the lawyer of that girl, as Elizabeth Ferrer, as well. This was all in the exhibits on the docket. But most of the content creators that supported Justin Baldoni didn't bother to show their audience the half of it. There was no sexual harassment. Well, I've already explained that there was. Even if you take Blake Lively out of it, which, I mean, okay, just a few examples in case you don't know. On their first meeting, he talked about his penis. He talked about being circumcised. He then tried to find out from her personal trainer how much she weighed. Her personal trainer came back and told Ryan Reynolds and her, because he was like outraged about it. And he made up the excuse that he had to lift her in a scene, which wasn't true. He had a bad back. He actually had a bad back. Well, he blamed, at one point, he blamed the stress of her not wanting to edit the movie in time, or there being a dispute over the edit of the movie, on giving him a back infection that landed him in hospital. But in actual fact, he'd been having stem cell treatments, injections into his back, which probably caused an infection. But yeah, then there was Jamie Heath, his CEO, who barged into her dressing room, demanding to have a meeting, an impromptu meeting, because this was on the second day of filming. It was just a mess. It was a mess. They had nothing organized in terms of how to conduct themselves in a professional manner. That's what Alex Sachs, the woman that got shouted at, was saying. She's like, they weren't running this movie professionally. It was like a joke. Justin was going around saying people looked hot and sexy. He made her do a scene which wasn't written into the script. It was just meant to be like a silent bit of film, but he filmed it for like ages, where he was like fondling her hair and he kissed her on the lips. Of course, all the pro Baldoni people were saying that that wasn't sexual harassment, that was her leading him on. Oh my God, what else? He said that he had had sex with women without asking for their consent in front of a driver. So Jamie Heath barged into her dressing room, and she'd just given birth. You know, she was a new mum of her fourth child. They also kept fetishizing about motherhood and stuff, like obsessing about it. That's what Jenny Slate said as well. So she was trying to get her makeup off and like decompress after the disastrous day filming. Jamie Heath insisted on coming in when she was naked, and she said, okay, well, as long as you turn around and don't look at me. And she said that she caught him full on staring at her. Then this same guy showed her a video of his wife giving birth. He said it was after she'd given birth, but if you actually read her list of back to work safety protocols, because she had to write it out and they agreed to it, That was one of the clauses was, please don't show me naked imagery of your partners and don't talk about my sex life. She was asked whether she climaxed at the same time as her husband. He went and told everyone that she'd never watched porn. He talked about his porn addiction. I mean, it was just a lot of stuff like that. So to say that there was no sexual harassment is a lie, really. It's a mischaracterization of what actually happened. There was no smear campaign. The court recognized it. The record reflects it. Not true. The court did not recognize it. As I said, she wasn't given the opportunity to have that. In fact, the judge ruled that it needed to be shown in front of a jury to decide whether there was a smear campaign. He said there was actually very good grounds for a smear campaign. The fact is that they reached a settlement before it went to trial, very, very shortly before. It was like literally a week before. They reached an undisclosed settlement. We don't know exactly what the terms were, other than they were supposed to. They made a statement, like I said, saying that they supported her in taking the action that she did. Now, Brian Friedman is doing a full 180. The record reflects it, and we have maintained it from the very beginning. We would not hesitate to stand up for the truth again. I mean, it's just a complete and utter lie. Because it doesn't seem to be enough for him that the New York Times didn't lie. The judge just said it in his ruling. He's like, showing those text messages was completely within her rights. Whether, as you know, whether she had filed the CRD complaint or not, because that was one of their things, was like, well, she hadn't filed the complaint and she went to the New York Times first, so it's a smear campaign. The judge literally just said, no, that's okay, that's fine, because she was gonna file it. Oh, we've got some stuff in the chat. Sorry, I'm rabbiting on. Hey, Junk Farm, haven't seen you for ages. Oh, we've got a troll. Nasty fake Snake Blake deserves nothing but jail time. Jail time for what? What is wrong with you? You do not understand that you're a troll. You're a complete troll coming into a live chat. I've never seen you before. Calling Blake stupid names and saying she deserves to go to jail. To jail for what? None of them deserve to go to jail. I mean, this isn't a criminal matter, it's a civil matter. You had to stop watching Emily D. Baker because she did a hard pivot when she was originally pretty fair. I mean, to be fair, I've never liked Emily D. Baker. I think the only time I watched her was she was one of the very few content creators that covered the Erica Girardi case, which I have a feeling has something to do with Brian Friedman as well. Because Zach Peter has always been pro Erica Girardi. Erica Girardi, if you want to talk about someone going to jail and someone being a snake, go and pick on Erica Girardi. She is disgusting. She used the money that her husband stole from victims of airplane crashes and gas explosions just to pay for her pathetic music career and jewelry and getting her hair extensions done. You know, so I've already made that point that the people that have all this hatred for Blake Lively is very put in the wrong place if you really want to hate someone for being a horrible person. So yeah, I kind of watched a bit of Emily D. Baker just because she was the only person talking about that Girardi case, and I just found her so annoying, like because she does so many sponsored segments. She has so many sponsorships, and it was all the same trash, like that meal thing. I can't remember the name of it, but then there was like HelloFresh. She did HelloFresh. She did all the venture capitalist sponsorship deals on her channel. Plus, there were so many adverts. It was just all about the money for her. And I'm pretty sure she supported Johnny Depp as well, although I didn't watch her then. But yeah, so I've never really been into her channel. She'd got a ton of engagement and negative bot comments, and then all of a sudden, Baldoni's case is great and Lively is terrible. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I very much get from her that she goes with the popular sentiment, which is what they all do. I mean, that's why we're here. And that's another point, is that I was going to say, like, if you want to believe that Ryan Reynolds is out here sponsoring people to not support Justin Baldoni's side, just look at our viewing figures. They're terrible. You literally asked her in a live to explain how Lively could have forged the emojis. Oh gosh. She said she would answer, never did, and then banned you. It's funny you should say that, actually, because I was gonna do like before I decided to start doing Michael Jackson again. I was gonna do, this was a couple of days ago, I was gonna do a deep dive into Shisty Floor's comment section, and that's exactly what they were saying. They were like saying the same thing. But of course they were like saying how great Shisty was, but they were like, yeah, you're right, Shisty. I asked her a question and then she blocked me, or she ignored me, or it's like, I mean, as someone that has a live chat, it is very difficult to see every comment and answer every comment. So I imagine that she's a lot better at it than I am. I don't really care about some of the trolls. I just think they're stupid. But I don't block them. Speaking of jail time, creating a problem and then getting paid to fix the problem is the definition of racketeering. Baldoni should be going down for RICO over this. I mean, I think there's definitely a case for saying that Friedman could be done for racketeering. Certainly Mark Geragos was accused of a criminal conspiracy with that Aventi guy who's in prison right now for extortion against Nike. I mean, he was accused as a co-conspirator, so he was lucky to escape a criminal conviction. I take comfort in the fact that Steph Jones is going to take everything he owns, and that is so true. Yes, he's still got Steph Jones. And I mean, this goes right back to the beginning. Like, before I'd ever looked at any Reddit posts or spoken to any other people about this, I was just literally doing my own videos here on my own. That was one of the first points I made, was that they couldn't say that Jen Abel was at fault because she was the one that breached her work contract by thinking she could just steal all Steph Jones's clients and IP and send it to her own email address from her work phone. And I mean, the way they tried to spin that and say that she'd been held hostage and all of this other stuff, it was just unbelievable to me. But from the get-go, it was very obvious to me that Wayfarer had breached their contract with Stephanie Jones. They had literally just signed for another year with her and then done like 1 month or 2 months, and then just breached a whole year and gone off to Melissa Nathan, defected with Jen Abel. And I mean, that's like, they were paying, what was it, 20 grand a month? So that's like 200 grand. You know, I mean, obviously she's going to want to reclaim that money. That's why you sign a contract. Duh. Like the amount of people that don't seem to understand that don't have any like basic business knowledge. But then they want to watch like legal experts to get all this analysis. I really don't think you need legal analysis to understand this case. You don't need to be a legal expert. You can be a much more stronger influence of people by saying that you are a legal expert and that you understand the law, and being very biased in your interpretation of it doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Right? And we've still got the insurance companies. Yes, Brian Friedman didn't mention that. Her name is Flake Lively. Shorty D. Okay, hun. Have a great night. Have fun making up silly names. Yes, hi. You've been traipsing around Europe, just hanging in and out at Schiphol for a flight, so catching some lives. Okay, well, safe travels. I saw some of your content in Ireland. That looked really amazing. LawTube creators were so sketchy. They are. I mean, I started my channel because of a LawTube channel, BJ Investigates, another person that I have made quite a bit of content about, only because I have my own personal experience and intimate knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes. She had a whole thing on her channel of facts ain't defamation. I'm a lawyer. She got her start by speaking about the Free Britney case. She was like, well, there was no one that really understood the legal documents. So everyone listened to me. No, everyone listened to you because you were on the side of Free Britney. That was all. It wasn't because you understood the legal documents, because clearly you didn't. And also, she got in league with who I now know to be an extremely right-wing MAGA conspiracy theorist who's had it in for Jay-Z since 2011, called Liz Crokin. So Liz Crokin infiltrated the Free Britney movement, and that's how BJ Investigates got so big in it, because Liz Crokin was doing this documentary that she wanted BJ Investigates to participate in. And then I realized that BJ Investigates, or That Surprise Witness, her audience, she was cultivating a troll farm within her audience. And then I started to understand how YouTube commentary and videos going viral works. And I've been talking about it ever since. But yeah, technically, she was a law tuber. People still say she's a lawyer. BJ's a lawyer. How dare you say that? You're just jealous. I'm just jealous, yeah? Because she has like her audience, like she's a lawyer and her husband pays for pretty much everything. Well, not her husband, her fiance. And yet she's got her sort of like stands in her audience that are like begging people in the comments to donate money towards her wedding. These are people that can't afford to live anywhere decent, that are on benefits. And as I've explained, a lot of them have substance abuse problems or substance problems or mental health issues going on. BJ doesn't care about any of that. She just wants their money. And then when people, like you said about Emily D. Baker, when people pointed out that her facts were incorrect, that she'd got things wrong, she blocked them and called them idiots. Where'd you get some of the RR money, right? I mean, I'm saying, like, where's my bot likes and support in my videos? Sometimes I get like 10 likes if I'm lucky. You've got some screenshots of Shisty that are pretty good. Yeah, we'll send them over. I don't actually know if I want to talk about it anymore though, because I'm a bit over it. But it's going to be interesting to see where Shisti goes next, because she really doesn't have anything. I mean, I've seen some of the others going into like true crime, like Zach Peter and that Dana woman, but I just don't know where Shisti's going to go with this after this. Sorry, or Andy Signal, because like I said, his views are down, and it's really annoying for me because I wanted to make a part 2 about Andy Signal and his fraudulent fundraising. But if his views are down, I know it means I'm not going to get a lot of traction on the video either. So I'm like, is there any point in making it? Like, I might just save it until it gets interest. Otherwise, I don't know. It's a bit of a waste. It's a bit of a waste of my energy and the bandwidth. What criminal things did she do? What criminal things did she do? Are you aware of Brian Friedman actually being involved in a gang rape when he was at college? Like a genuine criminal activity? Before the internet? Before people could make things up like that? I mean, obviously they could make things up, but I don't think they did, because he had to leave and it was written about in the local paper, and he paid a big settlement to this girl. So it really doesn't sound like it was made up. That's a criminal. She did not lie in her deposition. You know who did lie in her deposition? I mean, you can't prove that she lied in her deposition. You can prove that Justin Baldoni lied in his deposition. You can prove that Jed Wallace lied in his deposition. You can prove that Melissa Nathan lied in her deposition. You can prove that Brian Friedman has lied repeatedly. He's lied in his declaration in the Michael Jackson case that I talked about last night. That's why I'm doing this live tonight. But I just think that people like you, Shorty D, won't be able to go and see that for yourself. You won't be able to absorb any other information than what you already believe. It's called confirmation bias. If you don't have an open mind on these things, you won't be able to learn, and you won't be able to have to admit that you may have been fed misinformation. I'm just saying. Right? What did she lie about? Everything that she said happened on the set was corroborated by other people. Like I said, she was the last one to say anything. She didn't even want to say anything on that set. She was trying to keep everything sweet with him. She just wanted to make that movie and move on to the next one. The trouble started during the editing. That's when the trouble started. That's when he started spiraling. Justin Baldoni started spiraling. You could see it in his messages. I'm sorry. If you haven't read all the messages, I'm sorry. But there was nothing to show that Blake Lively was spiraling. She got Taylor Swift. She was working with Taylor Swift. She got Taylor Swift to contribute a song to the soundtrack and to the trailer that was going to make the movie a hit. Colleen Hoover, who wrote the book. I'm not a fan of Colleen Hoover. From what I understand, you know, her style of writing is kind of simplifying it. I'm not really a fan of romance as a genre, okay? But she kind of like simplifies and romanticizes the experience of people that are not very comfortable or pleasant. Like, she experienced domestic violence growing up. I get that. But she herself told Blake Lively that she loved her interpretation in the edit. It also got better scored than Justin Baldoni's. Regardless of what you believe, if you actually look at the charts, I'm afraid it's there. It's not. That's why they chose it. That's why they went with it. That wasn't her taking over the movie. It was an executive decision. it doesn't mean she's lied. Forged emojis. I mean, an emoji? This is all over one emoji, really? It just doesn't make sense. I don't know. I really don't know why they support Baldoni. Like, he's got nothing going for him. And like I've always said at the beginning, like, I'm not a particular supporter of Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds myself. Actually, funnily enough, we watched a film the other night. It was my daughter's suggestion. It was directed by Ben Affleck and it had Jeremy Renner in it, yeah. And it was called The Town. And the girl in it, so there was a girl in it who was a junkie, or like she was on drugs and she had a baby, and she was in the movie, she was sort of in this on-off relationship with Ben Affleck's character, and her brother was Jeremy Renner. And I thought to myself, that is a little bit like Blake Lively. So I quickly looked it up and it was Blake Lively was in this film. I couldn't believe it. And she wasn't too bad in it. She wasn't too bad. But, you know, this isn't about me being a fan of Blake Lively or anyone else. We're talking about justice. We're talking about the justice system. We're talking about people like Brian Friedman, bullies that use people on social media to make it look like they're winning cases when they're not. They're just ripping people off blatantly. Same thing they're doing with the Michael Jackson estate. That's why it's so interesting. Hey, Julia. Baldoni admitted she was wearing a thin strap of modesty material in his deposition, which was exactly what she said. Thank you. I can't think of every single detail all at the same time, but I mean, it's not that difficult to see whether someone's telling the truth or not. It's the same thing in the Michael Jackson case, yeah? I've seen people saying that Mary Nicole, the sister of the Casio family, because there's three boys or 4 boys and a girl? They've all said that Michael Jackson abused them when they were children. Okay. I know I'd read that in 2005, it's still online. I may do another live stream about it at a later date. That Gavin Arvizo's younger brother testified in front of the grand jury that he witnessed Michael Jackson making sexual comments about her. This boy was only 12 or 13 at the time. She was, I think, 13 or 14. They also said, in what I read last night, that Brian Friedman said he knew. They said to her that they knew Michael Jackson had abused her. They had a witness that had seen it and that he'd done it to other girls. This is stuff people are missing because they don't read lawsuit documents. I feel like I'm the only person that's doing coverage of this Michael Jackson lawsuit. You'd no idea who she was prior to the case. You'd seen A Simple Favor, but didn't know who the actors were. Yeah, I mean, I vaguely knew who she was because obviously I've heard of Gossip Girl. And I thought we'd been to see the Traveling Sisterhood, the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, or whatever it was. But my daughter doesn't actually remember that. So I'm not sure if I did go and see it. But yeah, I mean, look, as I said, this is about so much more than what happened to Blake Lively on the set of that movie. I think it's pretty fair to say that this kind of behavior that she experienced on that set is pretty commonplace, especially on the smaller productions, like they're an independent, or they try to play themselves off as an independent production company. The more budget they have, the more they can bring in like intimacy coordinators and have better producers on set to try and prevent sexual harassment from happening. But it was very clear, again, from reading the depositions and the evidence, that Alex Sachs had gone to Sony and said, the production on this is terrible. We need help. We need help. There's accusations of sexual harassment going around, and we don't know how to deal with it. Sony didn't want to get involved. They were only there to do the marketing. You know, so she has raised so much with this case, because there's that, and then there's the fact of showing the legal work, or the literal workings of how the crisis PRs operate behind the scenes, which has been going on, as I've been saying in my other live streams, with Jeffrey Epstein since 2006 with that Citric guy. You know, all of this has come to light because of Blake Lively collaborating with Megan Twohey on that article. So that's the reason why I've been reporting on it. That's the reason why I've been following it, why I've been checking the documents, because, you know, you don't know what they're going to say. And you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And I've never tried to suggest that I would know what the outcome was going to be or anything else. But I think people have been watching my channel because they know that I'm actually being honest about it and trying to show everything rather than just out here hating on a woman who happens to be pretty and successful, you know, and making up stupid names for her. It's like really childish behavior. Anyway, so really, you think all of this was worth one emoji? Honestly. It's kind of mad. I have to say as well, you're completely right, because a lot of the the exhibits, some of them had emojis showing, some of them didn't, some of them were in color, some of them weren't. So they definitely use different software programs to extract this information and share it. It doesn't mean the content was any different. I think I can't believe, then they actually, like, I think there was a story that they actually bought an emoji or something. Oh, I bet I won't be able to find it now. But that was one of the first crazy stories that came out in this case, where you just knew. I mean, how these people can deny the amount of made-up press that we witnessed going on, and say that isn't a smear campaign. I just don't get that. Yeah, look, here it is. Business Insider. Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against the New York Times could hinge on an emoji. Oh, is that the lawsuit that he lost? As the legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni ramps up, one of the most contested points may be the importance of an emoji. In his lawsuit against the New York Times, Baldoni says the paper failed to include an upside down smiling emoji. Well, that's the funny thing, is that we now know that he didn't even read the article, but yet he was the one that said it failed to include an upside down smiling emoji used to convey sarcasm or silliness in a quote, adding that effectively changed the meaning. The Times quoted Jennifer Abel, one of his publicists, as saying to the crisis management expert Melissa Nathan, "Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece." I mean, yeah, the sarcasm really changed that, changed it all. Daily Mail as well. I've been showing that it's the same journalists that do the smear campaigning. Yeah. So now that's another thing that has come out of this lawsuit is now if you see an article by Tatiana Siegel, by Alison Boshoff, by, well, not James Vatushka because he's been fired, but even Hollywood Reporter, there's that Chow guy, the guy that writes for Hollywood Reporter. You just know who to trust and who not to trust, and to take what they're saying with a massive grain of salt, because they're very influenced by their relationship with the PR companies, you know, that will use comments from social media accounts that we know are planted or made up to say this certain narrative is happening. That's what's been so interesting about all of this, and it's continuing to happen with the Michael Jackson case. Anyway, I think I'm going to sign off for now. I think I've pretty much been through everything that I wanted to say. Did I finish the article? With the quote from Friedman. The exact amount of money of attorney fees and costs Lively may ultimately receive has not yet been determined and will be decided in future proceedings. The legal battle between the former co-stars has attracted significant attention since erupting after the release of It Ends With Us, which became a major box office success despite the controversy surrounding its production. I mean, that part, it's like, honestly, his biggest success ever. And he literally effed it. He literally fumbled the bag so badly. But he's somehow still the hero. While several core claims between the parties have already been resolved or dismissed, the dispute continues to generate headlines as both sides fight over legal costs, public statements, and the fallout from one of Hollywood's most closely watched courtroom battles. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that was all I was going to say. It's been really nice. Thank you for joining me. Thank you very much, Julia. I hope you can honestly follow me covering this Michael Jackson case, because it's really interesting. And there's very similar activity going on in terms of the smearing and the using certain journalists and content creators, Andy Signal being one of them. But yeah, I think I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much, and see you all again soon.